We're here in Hong Kong, where interest in wine has exploded over the last few years with 0% tax rate and rising wealth in China. Especially Bordeaux and Burgundy wines are what's sought after here. But I'm joined by Burgundy expert Jasper Morris. You're a regular visitor to the city, Jasper. So what are we doing here in a tea shop?
I've been fascinated by the parallels between drinking and tasting wine and drinking and tasting tea.
But that sounds pretty unusual. We don't see much of that. I mean, I guess Asia has a tea culture, it's getting interested in wine, but we don't traditionally think of them together. But you're saying they do match?
They don't match insofar as you might want to drink them alongside each other, the same way you have a food and wine matching. But I'm fascinated by, let's say, the differences between Bordeaux and Burgundy are actually replicated in the differences between certain sorts of teas. Is 2005 vintage, which is a great vintage, but the wine is young and it's going to be tannic, and we're going to have it with a 2005 vintage Pu-erh tea.
Oh, so we're comparing
We're going to compare
wine,
like with like.
the same vintage with the same vintage.
And Henry tells me that happily, 2005 is a really good vintage for Pu-erh. The fascinating thing with the Pu-erh teas is that the fact that you can keep reinfusing them, keep putting more water on, and they change in flavour. Yeah. And that has a parallel with wine too. The first glass, the first part of the first glass, gives you light, fruity flavours and not that much structure. And as you go further down the bottle, so the flavours deepen and broaden and change, become more complex. And I find that with these teas as well.
I feel you can taste some age on this one. It really lingers quite a while in the mouth.
The image which I have is like a rosebud, but as the flower opens, you can see lots of different petals inside, many, many layers. You get, the colour starts to diminish as it opens, as it becomes more mature, but the aromatics become much more expressive.
Yeah.
Drinking this very young, there's a little bitterness in there, which isn't unpleasant by any means, but as this tea evolves, then that will become sweeter and gentler and softer. And equally, when you drink a wine that's a bit too young, you also get those slight bitternesses in them.
Jasper, we've had two sensational wines and two sensational teas. Any takeaways or surprises from the tasting we've just had?
Well, what's actually fascinating in tasting them side by side is I've got both have remained with me. One hasn't killed the other one. I can feel the aromatics of the wine are lingering inside, but across the floor of my mouth I've got the texture of the tea. The tea has dominated in the texture and the wine perhaps in the aromatics.
So Jasper, wine prices have been going up enormously, but so have tea. We were talking to the owner of this tea shop earlier, and he was telling us about some teas that are 100 years old or more, and as much as $100,000 US.
Yes.
I mean,
not
for my budget. But
not for my budget either, and it's directly comparable with ancient vintages of wine, which are rare, but they do still exist, and they do achieve fantastic prices as well.